Governance was a significant driver of this rating increase, and that's a thanks to everybody around this table. And so I think it was really great news, and I'm sure Carl might say a few words in addition to that. But moving on to the finance director's report on page 2 with ARPA.
Yeah.
Yes, is somebody talking?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, can we ask a question about the Moody's report before you move on?
Yes, of course.
So the Moody's, so the handouts that you had from the Moody's rating, where they talked about, first of all, I mean, very nice that we went up on the upgrade. Does that imply that we can borrow for less? In theory, fine.
Yes, we can borrow for less. It'll be a little bit less. And considering that we are going to be probably borrowing, the timing is really good.
But the question I had was in the sections about factors that could lead to an upgrade and also factors that could lead to a downgrade. One of the items was deterioration of financial reserves to below 25% of revenue. Is this related to that 70% that we have in the rainy day fund? Is that the same number or is it a different number?
And the rainy day fund. So what they do is they add our rainy day fund and all of our reserve accounts. So, the capital non-recurring, the money that we have put aside for the Board of Ed, all of those accounts that we call them reserves, and they add them all together. So to the extent that we draw down significantly on any of those reserves, that would be as opposed to borrowing money, for example, then that might be something that they would find a negative trend if it occurs for, hopefully several years in a row. Hopefully they wouldn't do it right away, but yes.
So just ballpark this, what is our financial reserve of revenue? I mean, because it says, yeah, what percentage, right? As opposed to, it's because you would say it was 70% plus something else. I'm just trying to figure out what it is relative to the 25% that they were benchmarking.
So 17% is our rainy day fund. That's balances of about $9 million.
No.
And then we have, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on, Leanne. I'm just wanting just a ballpark percentage of the total amount of the reserve in terms of percentage. If you don't have that number, that's okay.
I don't have that specific number that Moody's used at the top of my head,
Yeah.
and I will get it for you, George, but we have $4.6 million in our capital non-recurring alone, and plus we have all of those other reserves on page 4. If you look on page 4 of the finance director's report, all of those numbers that say reserve, capital non-recurring, 2.8 million, fire department apparatus, Board of Ed, 1.2 million, catastrophic illness, post-employment, reval, contingency, all of those things are considered reserves.
I see. Okay.
So if you take, if 9 million is 17%, then 5 million would be 13%, I think. So the total between the two would be somewhere clearly north of 25%.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Yeah, but some of those reserves we can't touch.
Correct. Well, but they still include them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at it from our side, we can't touch those.
Well, like what, Brad?
The retirement funds,
Oh, so, yeah, well, the
we can't touch those.
Right, right.
So you can't, in my mind, you shouldn't count them. I mean, they're reserves, but the reserves for the purpose.
No, I don't think they're counting they're not counting our retirement funds.
Right.
They're counting, it's basically reserves, like maybe we put money aside for the fire department and public works. And even though they're dedicated reserves, they're still available, because if this board wanted to switch that, you could. You could say, hey, we're not gonna put 175 to the fire department, we're gonna use that to make a new pickleball court.
Yeah, I understand that, but you wouldn't, that's only gonna make the situation worse if we did that. I mean, if we need to buy a new fire truck at $700,000, in the meantime, we're putting that away in the rainy day fund. We're only gonna cause another problem down the road.
Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Look, we're in good shape.
Yes, we're,
I think, you know,
And that's-
we have plenty of reserves. I don't wanna focus on
right.
negative thoughts right now. Come on. We're in very good shape is what it says. So,
Well, we want to stay that way.
we do. And, this, don't forget, this is backward looking, right? This is based on fiscal 24. We're obviously gonna have substantial surplus here. I've said to the chairman, we plan on putting money towards the library. We basically told the library, you know, we will commit another 500 to plus $1,000. There's some other things coming down the pike that we may want to put into, or we may want to use cash towards. And we're gonna have a healthy reserve this year, so that's added on to the AA1 that we got last year. So there's room to do both. There's room to keep us where we are, and I think there's room to invest where we want to invest with cash. There may come a point in the near future, like DPW has a garage that they're looking at. I don't know what the cost of that is, but if it's a small number, you don't want to, you're not bonding $1 million, you know, you're not doing it.
Probably more than half.
Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be, so we'll find out. We're gonna know that number relatively soon. So anyway, we're in good shape. I mean, the AA1 puts us one step away from AAA. We're not gonna get AAA. Maybe in 20 years we will, but we were told a long time ago that towns our size have no chance at AAA, just because we're not diverse enough. We don't have enough commercial property. And that's fine. I never thought we'd even get upgraded from AA2, to be honest with you. We achieved that about 20 years ago. Obviously, our position has improved since then. So, it's great. It's good news it's just good news for the town. And I've meant to look, Leanne, in the municipal benchmarks, because they tell you what towns are, 169 towns. They tell you which towns are AAA, which are AA1, which are AA2. Of course, some of the ratings agencies rate differently. So S&P might rate a little differently than Moody's. Moody's, I think, is known as being one of the more conservative raters. So I think that adds to the prestige of a AA1. So those are my comments on the Moody's upgrade.
Okay, very good.
Group of municipal towns with this rating. So it's really good. Okay, page 2 of the finance director's report for the month of March on ARPA. We have spent just $6,800. So we have expended $1.6 million to date, and we still have $1.4 million. And I'm thinking that pretty soon we're going to see, we have the Beaver Trail Dam culvert that's going to be worked on this spring. So that money's going to go out the door. And the two DPW trucks are going to be coming in very soon, I hear. So that's almost $1 million right there. So that's gonna take a big chunk out of our ARPA funds. And we'll be well on the way to expending it all before 2026. Let's see, on page 3, I think it is, sorry. On page 3, just wanted to mention that the $10,855 capital non-recurring appropriation for the tree inventory grant was approved Board of Finance last month, and it's going to be moved to a town meeting. And on page 4, in terms of the cash flow, general fund, we are down 2.8 million. We spent 3.2 million in expenses, and we took in $500,000 in revenue. In capital funds, we spent 41,000 last month. We've spent 25,000 on the Main Street crosswalk, 8,000 on some grant engineering, and 6,000 on some sidewalks. And the reserve fund is up 9,000. That's just interest income that we earned on the reserve funds. And for all the other funds, the non-major funds, the two major moves in that area is, of course, the pension fund, our payroll that we pay every month, 155,000, and Board of Ed had outflows of funds of 98,000. So that's all of those. In terms of our capital balances next on there, the Board of Ed, as you all recall, put in 280. We had an appropriation for 284,511 for their track and field renovations, and that's going to be coming up in May. So I expect by the end of this fiscal year, that balance will be back down to $1 million. And as I just mentioned, we expect any month now for those two DPW trucks to come in. And so we're going to go back to a negative balance in the Public Works fund. And in terms of all of our other budgets, the last page, everything is performing as expected. So far, I only know of one department head that has told me about a budget that will go over the budgeted amount. That's the ZBA. They only have about $1,000 left to spend, and they have some litigation going on that will probably take them over this fiscal year. But so far, everything else looks in order. And that's all I have from my report tonight.
Okay, questions for Leanne? Hearing none, thank you very much. So, as mentioned before, what I'd like to do now is have a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add an item, and the item would be to vote on the fiscal year 26 Board of Education budget. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that we now have an amended agenda. And Leanne, are you ready to read what the original?
I do not have a copy of the minutes, but I have the numbers, but I will do my best to.
I tell you what, you're right.
I have the numbers if you have the motion.
Tell you what, I've got the minutes here. Let me take a quick look and see.
So the Board of Education original amount, the motion was for a reduction of $296,325, which would bring the Board of Education's original amount of $31,143,753 down to $30,847,438. And further to move this, I'm sorry, Bruce, Mr. Chairman, I made a mistake. The first motion was to reduce the Board of Education budget by $296,325. That is the one that Brad,
Right, so
yeah.
I got you, Leanne. So here's what I suggest we do. I will make a motion for a budget for the Board of Education. And that will represent a cut from what was their proposed increase of 296,325, just to be clear what this number will represent. And we will either vote on that or we'll have the opportunity to amend the motion. Okay. So I move that we approve the annual budget for the town of Old Saybrook Board of Education for fiscal year July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026, recommended by the Board of Finance in the amount of $30,847,438, and to move this budget to annual town meeting, which will adjourn to referendum. Is there a second?
Second.
Made and second. Is there discussion?
I would, I would like to amend that to be a cut from the original amount of $125,000,
So you're recommending a reduction of $125,000?
from the original amount.
Right, from the original amount, right.
Okay,
All right,
so
So that,
we need calculators here.
I can do that.
So that's gonna be 31,018,753.
So that's the motion. And that's the amendment.
Right.
Is there a second to the amendment, I guess?
Second.
Okay. All right,
Okay, so now we have an amendment to the motion on the floor. Is there any comment on the amendment before we vote?
Yes, the reason why I feel as though the cut should be less is because, right now, the state of Connecticut is not abiding by, boys and girls sports. And, last year we got 449,000 in federal aid. We got 350,000 from the state. At some point, I'm concerned, and I believe what will happen is the state of Connecticut will get cut off from any school, from money. And, I believe that we need to be aware of that we could lose $800,000 or more from the federal government if it's found out that we are not complying with federal regulations. It's happened in 2 states so far. It's happened in Maine, and I think the other state is Oklahoma. But it's a concern that the town needs to be aware of. That if we lose $800,000 plus, I mean, my thought is that if they now turn that money, that pocket of money from the feds to the state, I would hope that the state of Connecticut would get more money because there's less hands in the pot. And I feel as though that we just need to be aware of that when we're making a cut to the school budget because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, but I believe the school department can only go back once a year for additional funds.
almost any department should only go back once a year
Okay. So if
for an additional appropriation.
if we run into this problem and they're not too far distant, and it could happen even before we vote in May, they're gonna be going into their budget with substantially less money. And, so it's just a concern.
You have a concern? I believe that when we had the conversation with the superintendent, one of the things that he said is he had been advised by the State Board of Ed that the fiscal year 26 monies were already in hand. And that's why he wasn't expressing a concern about cuts at the federal level. But just to put that on the record as well.
Can I make just a language request for the entire board? Reduction, I would say not cut, reduction of the requested appropriation. I hate the word cut when budgets go up.
Yeah,
And that's a pet peeve of
a
mine.
reduction in the increase. Okay, so we have a motion on the
And it's not, by the way, it's not directed at anybody on this board. It's just, you hear that all the time, cuts, cuts, cuts.
So we have a motion on
No, I just
the floor,
wanna-
an amendment, and George
I
comment.
just want to add to your comment is, I mean, it's absolutely correct, right? I mean, the superintendent first came to us in January with a number. That was the superintendent's proposal. At that point, it was a 3.7% increase already. Then the Board of Ed came in, it became a 4.1 or more.
4.5.
We're still giving them the 3.7% increase. So
Over $1 million.
we're giving them $1 million as opposed to 1.3 million.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the motion on the floor. Any more comments on the amendment? Voting on the amendment, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-2. Okay, so we'll now go back to the original motion. Hopefully you don't want me to read it again.
No,
Any other comments on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. We will move forward. Thank you very much. And we have now solved those problems. We're on to the discussion, possible action on appropriation to upgrade the e-finance accounting system. Leanne, you want to take this?
Yes, please. Okay, so, back in 2017, we transitioned to e-finance, and since that time, we have had two upgrades, one in 2019 and one just last year or 2 years ago in 2023. They have informed us, and this is typical of e-finance, that by November, they're not going to support the version that we are on right now. So we have been going back and forth with the folks at eFinance, and we are going to, we have the option, and we're going to take the option to jump directly to 25.1, so that we should have more than a year and a half or 2 years in the version that we're in. It'll extend the time a little bit longer. So we're recommending that we go there. Plus, obviously, the operational interruption of doing an upgrade is quite extensive on the staff. And as you all probably recall, when we bought eFinance, we did buy the same exact, or the Board of Ed and the town went in together and we bought the same system. We actually are on the same account. So the Board of Ed also needs to have this upgrade take place. And so this request for $22,000 is for both town and the Board of Ed to upgrade. And, clearly we need to do this. This is our record keeping for finance and everything that happens at the town. So I don't really feel that we have an option on this, but I am requesting approval and hopefully tonight so that we can move forward and get on their list of, because they do it in order of when they receive requests to upgrade. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Leanne. Questions, Paul?
Oh, not a question. I was just gonna motion, and so we go
Put
forward.
it on the floor.
I move to appropriate 22,000 from the capital non-recurring fund 3350 and transfer said funds to the off-budget fund 7226 accounting system for the purpose of upgrading the e-finance accounting system for the town and Board of Ed. Further, to move this appropriation to town meeting.
Second.
Made in second. George, do you have a comment?
I have a question. It's more of a process question. And so Leanne, first of all, I appreciate the, these absolute transparency in which you afford us, right? I think it's great that you guys spend the time and effort to do stuff like this, but I'm just curious, is there a particular point in which it takes time and effort from your part? And I'm just wondering if there's a particular point in which the amount, or this feels like the cost of doing business, right? Every 2 years we buy the software, and is there a point where this is just the cost of doing business, in which case you don't need to come to us just for this, right?
Well, it's
I mean,
it's not in our budget, and we have very lean budgets, especially the accounting department is a very small department, so we couldn't swing our share of it. $11,000 is our share. And that's why we come to the Board of Finance to use it from the capital non-recurring fund because the funds aren't available. But yes, I agree. This is normal course, and that's why we have been coming back to the Board of Finance to request funding because we can't afford it in our budget. Did I answer your question? You looked at me.
Yeah, you did. I mean, I just, and again, I appreciate it, but it just feels like it's maybe it's not quite pencils. Maybe it's not quite pencils, but it's almost the same category as pencils. Just we run out of pencils. Well, nobody uses pencils anymore, but you get the idea, right? It's just,
Brad,
Should we set up a fund for this to where we put aside $12,000 a year or $11,000 a year? Or in 2 years we have the funds available to do it, and then we wouldn't have to go through this process.
And you could create a sinking fund, I suppose, or
Well, all computers need upgrades, not just e-finance. Municity, every system that we have needs to be upgraded. I'm sorry, Carl, did I cut you off? I apologize.
no, I mean, there's two ways to do it, is create a sinking fund like you're suggesting for a variety of items, or this, you know, this can be done reasonably quickly in the normal course of business.
Yeah, but the only thing I'm concerned about is we're looking at this pot of money over here, and like, we got too much money, and yet we have concurrent needs. And the computer system is a concurrent.
But if you create an off-budget fund, you presumably you'd be funding it with operational funds you'd create them on budget and send them off budget, just like we do with Public Works capital and Department of Fire Protection capital. So coming every 2 years and asking for it from the capital non-recurring fund actually doesn't build it into the budget. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's two ways to do it. You can build it into the budget, maybe put $7,000 a year aside in the finance department, and then move it off budget at the end of the fiscal year. And over the course of 3 years, you'll probably have enough to pay for the upgrades. That's built into the mill rate, into the budget, or do it like we're doing it now. So I have no pony in the race.
Okay,
It's to come and just, it's your time and effort, right, which is not, I mean,
Minimal,
if you guys don't mind it, then that's fine.
minimal. I mean, this didn't take a lot of brain power.
Fair enough.
probably we spent more time on it.
Yeah, you did, because she did it.
Okay, any other comments?
I was gonna ask a question. I think Leanne answered it about the 11,000. So 11,000 is gonna be attributed to the Board of Eds, that we divide that. Is that how it works?
We will pay for both of the bills, out of that account 7226, correct?
So it needed to be done reasonably quickly, and Leanne came to me and I said, it's not a big number, we have the funds. Instead of seeing if they have, I mean, I just said, let's do this, let's get it done. Next time, we should probably ask them for their share. That's probably how it should be.
Leanne, do you know how much we spent last 2 years ago in 23 for the system?
I think it was, a similar amount, like 21,000, very similar amount.
It sounds like it's a reoccurring event,
It is.
and they don't warranty it or anything like that?
Well, it's like Microsoft 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They stopped supporting it.
Yeah, but they usually stop supporting it long after. I mean, they'll come out with 8 and then 9, and all of a sudden we're not gonna do 7. They give you time. This is a short.
Like 3 years. Yeah.
This is a short notice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that change, Brad. You know, anytime the IRS makes a change, anytime the state makes a change, anytime labor laws change. So, you know, anytime an accounting pronouncement changes. So they kind of, you know, have a lot of volume of things that they support in the 2 years, and then they like to roll it into the system officially. So I think it's just, you know, a lot of things that happen financially, and that's the reason for the upgrade.
So they don't do upgrades as they come along, which is the way I'm familiar with it through the banking industry.
Oh, they don't do upgrades as you come along.
Okay, are we ready to vote? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the selectmen's report.
Just very quickly, so both Leanne and I were, and I'm gonna just regurgitate it, very excited about the Moody's rating. She was particularly excited, and it was unexpected, and so we're really, it's boring news, it's not sexy, you know, I tried to get it out there, but it's just not something that catches fire, but it's meaningful to the town, so just put it out there like that. Is Eric's on?
Eric is not.
Any public?
No.
Okay. Anyway, we have 3 projects out to bid that I've been talking about for 3 years. Chalkers Mill Pond Dam, which is at the corner of Merritt Lane and Ingham Hill Road, is a dam that's in poor condition. We put, I believe, 300,000 aside for that from last year's surplus or the year before. That project has literally been in design for 3 years probably, because we had to engineer a new fishway because they want to get alewives further upstream and stuff like that. And we are finally at the point where it's out to bid, which is great. So that project will take place between July 1 and September 30th. That is the timeline. The 3 crosswalks on Main Street are out to bid. That bid will be opened, I think, May 12th. Online, and if anybody wants to come to town hall, they can. Those are the crosswalks at Liberty Bank, Liv's Oyster Bar, and St. John Church. That's an improvement of crosswalks. That's rapidly repeating flashing beacons. Huge improvement. That work will be done as soon thereafter, May 12th, as we can get it done. That was a bear to get through with the state. I think I told you that. We went back and forth like crazy with them. The other project that is out to bid.
Can I
Yes,
interrupt on that for a second?
yes.
Because you got those through the state. Do we think that the other 2 will go through more quickly now, or?
No, there's one more, and that's at Sheffield Street.
Right, but then I thought we were ultimately gonna put in 2 more.
Yes, that we have not started that yet.
Okay.
We wanted to get these 3 done. This is the way Jeff Jacobson wanted to do it. He said, let's get these 3 in the books, then let's put a redesign for these 2 and run that up the flagpole. Also, we also have being reviewed Maple Avenue and Main Street to put on the north side of that crosswalk, on that street, that intersection, a crosswalk. Does that make sense? Does everybody know what I'm talking about? So you can safely cross the street if you are on the west side of the street. Anyway, is that? Yeah,
So-
go ahead.
The Sheffield Avenue will go out to bid, or?
It's not even designed. It's not designed yet. So the idea would be to move Sheffield Street towards Cartier Optical on that side, move it north.
Okay.
And then design a crosswalk that unloads the parking lot at the Cape right across the street. So those are the 2 that one moved, one added.
Okay. DB.
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
the lights? The
So,
light on,
which lights?
well, the one that you mentioned on Maple Avenue, and I'm looking at the light on Route 1 and Main Street.
Yes.
Are they what I would refer to as barn stance lights? In other words, when you press that button, you can go cross as well diagonally as well as across, because I see people going one way and then another, and the light is going both.
Boy, I tell you, Route 1 in Main Street, I don't believe you can go from the Monkey Farm to Starbucks, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. 'Cause
I don't believe, first of all, there's no crosswalk there, so I think that's probably not smart to do. There's no diagonal
No, there's
crosswalk.
no, well, there isn't in New York.
So I would do,
But, yeah, but it's normal. It's,
you know, in New York, you go with the traffic.
it's all.
Don't shake your head, I live here.
I'm from New
All
York.
right. Okay, go.
Barn stance.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
they institute.
It's not right now, there is not a 4-way stop. Because there is no crosswalk from Saybrook home to Starbucks.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So
You
if
should
we
have
get that, then you will probably get that.
Okay.
So that is part of a different project that is fully designed and being reviewed by DOT. And that's a different grant that we have that we received probably 7-8 years ago. Long story. But those are the sidewalks on Stage Road, Route 1 from CVS and the lumber store down to Saybrook Home, down to the Monkey Farm, and then a crosswalk continuing across from the Monkey Farm in front of the gas station, in front of the Saybrook Shopping Center. That is a different project that we have money secured for. At that point, we would be putting in a sidewalk from Saybrook Home to Starbucks. And then you'll have a 4-way. Right now, there's only 3.
Old people can't walk that far.
Yes, they can.
Or that fast.
You know what's really
Or that
unsafe to
fast.
see is at Saybrook Home,
I know that, I know.
somebody pushes that button, they walk from Saybrook Home over to Monkey Farm, but they still make the right on the red. There should be
know,
a sign up
that's-
saying no
that's the
right,
way
somebody's
this-
gonna get killed.
That's a good point.
That's
It's
the way the
so
state,
unsafe.
it's, I've had that before, and
I've
that's the way
seen
the
it. It's
state
terrible.
designed it, and
Yeah, it's terrible
I-
to find.
so,
Cringe.
I'm sorry.
That's
Sorry,
quite all
I
right.
interrupted you, I'm sorry.
So, and then the sidewalks from Dairy Queen to Westbrook are also out to bid, and that bid will be opened on May 12th.
Oh, good.
So May 12th, we'll have,
What a day.
I think
yes,
we should come.
and Beaver Dam Trail, as Leanne said, is currently awarded and awaiting when they can start, which will be in June, they're gonna start. So we're gonna have 4 projects probably going on this summer. 4 major projects,
Wow.
probably totaling 2.5,
A lot of trucks in town.
3, whatever, quite a bit of money, like $3-4 million. The town did opt into it's called the Connecticut Redevelopment Agency. We just did our public hearing and opted in. So we're moving on that. Chris Costa is now handling that with David Corus up at the state. Ryan Walsh has taken over as acting chief, as you all know. I will be having weekly meetings with Ryan. I think our first one is Thursday, just to kind of get a grip on how he's doing, what assistance he needs. Our accounting folks, Leanne knows this, will be going into the PD next week to get a better understanding of payroll, to start making sure that payroll is integrated, better integrated. Chief did a great job. He just sent us over a spreadsheet. So we're going to try to get a little bit more integrated with the police department in terms of payroll, which was one of the perf recommendations. So the police commission met at 6:30, I think, on the second floor tonight to choose the consultant that will lead them through the search for the next chief. And that consultant is a group called Public Safety Consultants. They're out of Massachusetts. I believe that vote was tonight. I don't think I'm speaking out of school by saying so. I've been working quite a bit with these folks. This is a group that has done about 150 chiefs. They are New England based and New England focused. I'm going to put that out there. We're not looking, I don't think, for a chief or for a candidate necessarily coming from Miami or Portland, Oregon, or Minnesota or anywhere like that. We are doing, and I think we're going to have very strong interest. In fact, I talked to the consultant over the weekend. He started putting out a couple feelers to get a better feel for the area, and he had people calling him back saying, and he already told me, their sitting chiefs are going to be applying for this job. So,
When you're ready, question, has it been discussed about salary, looking at, the area?
already done. I already did
Okay.
I put in a request to CCM. I already have it back. It's already with the police commission and with the consultant. I've asked for job descriptions and chief contracts from East Lyme, Guilford, Madison, and Clinton. I already talked to the chief in Madison. I already have all their information. So we are going to have a lot of information to work with, not only how we draw the contract, but how we pay the next chief.
And is there gonna be, if you can say it, is there gonna be a time element on the contract?
Yes, there will be. And that is not difficult to do.
And then you're looking at everything, benefits, use of vehicles,
Everything.
et cetera, et cetera?
Everything.
Okay.
Listen, the consultants came back and that we interviewed, and they said, you'll have 25 to 35 candidates. And I was a little like, do you think that's a lot or a little?
I think it's a lot, don't you?
I thought it was a little, actually. I thought we might have like 50 to 75. And he goes, no, 25 to 35. And the main reason is you can be a patrol cop, and when you get all the road work, you could be making 150,000. So why have the extra responsibility of being chief for a static 150 or something? So I thought that, I didn't when you add it all up, a lot of people don't want the responsibility. So he said, that's why the pool of people who really want this job is smaller than what you might get for something else, but he said your area is incredibly desirable, so I think you're gonna have a very strong pool.
One other question is, right now, if I understand it right, the chief has jurisdiction over, road work as far as who needs certain amount of cops, et cetera, certain locations. Is this a good time to look at that, to?
The police commission can look at that, maybe with the new chief, as to which roads need traffic control.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it should be analyzed to
Yeah.
see if we're
Yeah.
not doing enough or doing too much.
Yeah. So with the consultant, I've also been introduced to a group called the South Central Chiefs of Police Association or something. They're actually a group of academics out of the University of New Haven. Mario Gabri, who lives in town, who's a dean of criminal justice at UNH, referred this group to me. I met with one of the directors of this nonprofit. And while they're not going to help us look for a chief of police, they have done a lot of searches. They do a lot of testing for high-level criminal justice jobs. And they have agreed to come on as an advisor to the police commission. And the bottom line is, we have one shot at this. We have to do it right. And I just want to make sure that the police commission asks all the questions they need to ask. We don't know, I hate the phrase, we don't know what we don't know. And so I'm bringing in this advisor. It'll be extremely low cost. It's a nonprofit, they're academics, but it will be a charge. And just to advise the commission as they move forward with the consultant. I think it's money well spent. In addition, there will be a public component to this, whether it's a survey or whether it's a couple of public sessions as to hearing from the public. And the HR folks that we've hired, I've talked to them about perhaps helping us both with the survey and maybe running the public aspect of this meeting, because we want to make sure it stays on point, and maybe to have a neutral person doing this would be best. So they've also agreed. They are also helping us with a couple things. So residency requirement is an interesting one. There are many chiefs who don't have to live in their community, but they have to live within a certain distance from their community, whether it's minutes or miles. And we have to, that's something that has to be considered, which never occurred to me. I was like, of course they have to live in town, but maybe not. A couple bills that the state.
One question. So back to the search and all these costs. We're okay on funding?
Yes, we are. Because it's not a chairman at the last meeting. I think we can run it through the police budget pretty easily.
Okay.
So there's something out there, and I know Megan was at the Democratic Town Committee, and John was too last night. So tomorrow night we are going to meet with the Planning Commission to see if they would be interested in giving the Board of Selectmen the authority to move forward with possibly acquiring the former Dock and Dime property. The switch is that, or what's the word I'm looking for? The flop is the Vicky Duffy Pavilion. The building itself becomes property of the Point LLC, which is owned mostly by Mr. Kadama, to run a casual dining restaurant out of. And by the way, I looked at the lease today, lease and purchase and sale agreement, and it does say casual dining. That was a question at the DTC last night. Can he put in a steak joint? And so the way it would work is it would be consecutive 25-year leases at the option of the lessee, $1 a year, no rent. However, there are provisions in there that we're proposing that should the building either have a natural disaster or a fire, and it's not reopened within a certain period of time, it would revert back to the town. So we own the land, and so we will make sure that the building will not sit vacant for a significant period of time ever again without it reverting back to the town. In the swap, the town receives probably a $3 million piece of property, which is the 2.2 acres that the Dock and Dine sat on. And that is, probably when it's all said and done, one of the most valuable pieces of property in town, I would say, to have a passive recreation park. I have some, Megan saw them last night, John, you were in the back, I don't know how well you saw them, but we have some renderings of this that are pretty cool. Basically, we would hope to put a large open air pavilion there that could be rented out. It may be able to be a 3-season pavilion type of thing where you can maybe pull sides down, maybe have a heater in the roof. You know, and people can hopefully enjoy themselves there. Not on January 7th, like they were able to at the Vicky Duffy Pavilion. I did talk to a family member of Vicky Duffy today to just give her a heads up that this is in the works. It is conceptual at this point. It needs to be voted on, discussed and voted on by the public. And should it go through, I assured her that Park and Rec would consider naming either the park or maybe if we build a pavilion after Vicky Duffy. Again, I don't think anything, I think it should be an even exchange there. So one of the sticking points and and it's not anymore, was Mr. Gadamo was worried, should the pavilion be destroyed in a storm? He wanted the ability for us to exempt that building from our flood ordinances, and it's not happening, so take it or leave it. And that building has actually survived Irene and Sandy, whereas the old one didn't. The old Dock and Dine didn't. So I think it sits at a little bit of a different angle, and on the seawall a little different. Maybe it's higher, I don't know. But anyway, we are discussing all this, and next steps are planning commission tomorrow night, public hearing April 30th. It's already out on Facebook. There's already a rumor out there. That's okay. We're going to have a public hearing soon enough. Ultimately, the electorate has to vote on this. It's not something that the Board of Selectmen can do. It's not something Park and Rec can do, because it is what they call a municipal improvement by statute. That has to go to a town meeting or a referendum. So it is not anything that we are trying to say, we're doing this. We think it's a great idea. Everybody says, we want the Dock and Dine back, and wouldn't it be great to have that land? And there's a little bit of a win-win here. The downside is something that is obvious. The Duffy Pavilion is no longer a public gathering spot, which is, for a public gathering spot, there's nothing better. And there really is no immediate alternative. We have some ideas that are not replacements, so I'm not even going to mention them.
How can he get around FEMA for doing that building?
Can't. He's got to make it work, just like it is.
Gotta be less than 50%.
Yeah, he can do some improvements. The building's
50% of the assessable building.
Yeah, it's like 200. It's like 200,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's limited.
Yeah.
What he can do now, man. And we take the same risk that he takes. If that pavilion caught fire and burned to the ground, we would not be able to rebuild it. He takes that risk, whether it's a natural disaster or not.
So you're actually transferring the deeds on both these properties?
he will have a land lease, so he will
Like a 99-year land lease?
25 years with renewals.
And what's our deal?
We get a $3 million piece of property.
For free?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah, no,
for in exchange.
in exchange. And then ours is concrete. I mean, it's done.
It's in fee.
Yeah.
It's fee simple.
Yeah.
It's ownership. Forever to be, and it's contiguous land with other town properties. Listen, it's a revitalization plan that's been dormant for 13 years, so.
That'd be a great place to put a, outside theater type thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you have the North Cove residents who are a little worried with the other proposals, so you have to be careful with noise. I think we want to be good neighbors. It doesn't rule out the fact that you might be able to do something now and then.
George?
So if it burns down,
What?
if the pavilion burns down, why can we not rebuild?
Oh, we could, but we just have to be 11 feet above.
You're gonna do,
Oh, I see.
It's in a flood zone, so what exists is grandfathered, but if it gets destroyed in another, God forbid, tropical storm, it has to go up in the air. Same thing with us. We couldn't rebuild it. We would lose that if there was ever a natural disaster.
so isn't that like 13 feet now?
It's more than that.
14.
It's actually, what it is it's the number of feet above our 2-foot
Right.
freeboard.
Yeah.
So depending on how high it sits over there is how high it has to go up.
So the town has 2 feet over the current flood zone,
Yes.
which I believe is 12.5.
So, yeah. Anyway, a heck of a lot going on, a heck of a lot, all over the place. And it's been busy. I've been in the last few weekends, just, between help, the police commission, they need us, they're volunteers.
Yeah.
And I don't expect them to, do all the background work. And so it's been busy, but everything's it's gonna hopefully, we stay on task with everything and we move forward, well, so that's it.
All right,
Next question, the fire department, we approved of, them buying engines. Has that happened at this point,
As far as I know, it is.
They bought them? Or is that what you're saying?
Well, they had authority to buy them.
Right, but I just wanted, somebody called me today and said that, they were bought from somebody out of town,
Okay.
and the people in town did not have the opportunity to,
I don't know about that.
So, and I had requested, I believe, at the meeting that I would like to see 3 bids.
Well, they came in with 3 engine options.
Right, but that, I'm talking about now that they've narrowed it down to Yamaha, are they getting 3 bids? That's what I need to know. And then the other thing is, I believe in this town, there are 1, if not 2 Yamaha dealers.
I don't know that.
And
I don't know.
I believe, there's that 10% rule in this town, so.
There is
We,
Yeah, there is a
In-town person could
favored
get it
bid
for
ordinance,
110? So I just want to make sure we're being compliant.
I could reach out to Joe. I don't know where they are. That was a while ago that we approved it though.
So
So
last
it
fall,
wouldn't shock me if those engines have been ordered.
It was in the fall, I thought.
it was in the fall.
Yeah,
I think they ordered them already.
I mean, I don't know. So,
Well, I just want to make sure that they're following the rules. Last time, we got them from, for the police boat, we got them from, Manifold's company. And, there was a mistake made where they ordered a long shaft instead of a short shaft. And he took care of that. And I would feel bad that our town didn't at least get a quote from that company and others, if there are other Yamaha dealers, which I believe there's 2 in town. So, I just want to make sure we're following the rules.
okay. All right, we're ready to move on. Comments from board members. Any comments from board members? None. Public comment? We are still at 0, still 0 in the room. All set. Comments from the chair? Well, I just have another. looking forward to May. We have a, town meeting on Monday, the 5th. We have a scheduled meeting on Tuesday, the 6th. We have a referendum on the 13th, after which we will meet and set the mill rate. And then we have a meeting on the 20th. So I'm wondering whether we need to have all of those meetings in the month of May, and would suggest that maybe we eliminate the 6th, Tuesday night, the 6th. Does that, anybody cause a problem? Leanne, does that cause a problem for you? We can do the monthly reports on the 20th?
Absolutely. That's no problem at all. I might not even have them ready by the 6th because of the weekend before. So the 8th, whatever the next one is, would be better for me.
Okay, that good for everybody?
Yep.
And we will plan on that, and Jerry, you'll make all the right notices.
We're gonna
Thank you.
cancel the 6th.
Canceling the 6th,
Awesome.
and we look forward to seeing everybody on the 5th at the public hearing.
Get out the vote. Oh, no, that's.
No, that's the 13th.
13th is good. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.